I would like to point out just 3 years ago, I wanted to pursue a story about how edtech companies couldn't really help students with disability when the pandemic hit. People were stuck at home, right? And I could understand like how technology could help kids with disability. At the same time, I was shocked to see that a lot of edtech companies, and back then, a lot of edtech companies were having a lot of funding, and their focus was not at all on inclusivity. And it was a very tough story to do and pursue because I wanted to dive deeper, but I couldn't because not a lot of companies could come forward and speak about it. But I have had interest to focus on how tech can help disabilities and with any kind of how tech can help people elevate their life and disability and bringing inclusivity was one of the things. And that is where when I admit that couldn't really pursue it, I was not but didn't persist enough to dive deeper. But and today our conversation I brings me back memories of that failed story, which was dubbed as not good. And I understand that story felt wrong, but that story stayed with me.
So, Kulbhushan, I would first start by saying that I think this session is a catharsis for not just you, but for me as well, because as a journalist, you only are able to pursue what impacts you. This is the hard reality. As a human, we will only go behind what we can solve. I just didn't want to disclose it, but this is nepotism. This is my Masi on the camera. Pavneet is a colleague from Manav Rachna, and you are a friend. So that's how we come together to be able to club these resources to be able to solve a problem. What is the problem here? That there is a disorder which is being treated like a disease, and I'll call it that because I cover international politics these days, and I could not help shake off, I just cannot shake off to now. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the US government says that autism is an epidemic which needs to be solved, and they need to find the cause of what is causing autism by September. It stuck with me, it bothered me a lot. And probably it all started from the time when I came to know that Chotu and Chiku, who are my cousins, are autistic. I was curious and I met them and I was like, there is something different, but there is nothing different. They're my baby brothers and I just want to be there for them. So knowing nothing about technology, nothing about the tools, I just knew that I have to be a good human being to them. And that is all you need for handling somebody with autism. It is a disorder, it is not a disease. If we can be compassionate to pets, if we can be compassionate to neighbors, senior citizens, I'm pretty sure that this is a spectrum. So I also, because along with the journalist, I've been an educator almost all my life now. I started taking tuitions, and one of the students who came across me was neurodivergent. And it's when I understood that it's not Asperger's, it is not autism, it is not extreme or little amounts of it. I think all of this are on some spectrum. And I was telling my mother the other day that maybe I have ADHD. Maybe you and I, as journalists, work in anxiety, and that anxiety helps us break stories, helps us multi focus on tasks. We are on some or the other spectrum, trying to discriminate somebody. And yes, that's very right from the discussions that we've come to know. The parents are the challenge, the rigid minds are the challenge, basically. When I used to teach at Manav Rachna, when I was Pavneet's colleague, I was blown away by the idea of same department. I fell in love with the school because I saw this problem that my cousins have to go to a different school, and here, what if they were at Manav Rachna? What if the same department was known earlier to them? Then Chotu Chiku could visit that school. And Pavneet could have been their teacher, and the great teachers, Lopa ma'am or others, could have been there, right? But Terai Durustai is the line that we'll stick with because and what I was sharing in my experience was the SEN department had two students from 7th and 8th coming to Media Shala, where I used to teach media literacy. And I saw that the kids were so compassionate. They would make sure that the children, their bags would be packed by the time it was dispersal. They could raise their hands and speak. If one student was extroverted and wanted to speak more versus one was introverted, we had different approaches. Now, I was aware all these years, I was in the family where I could understand, but my colleague had no idea, and she was just being a good human being. And that was what stuck with me, that any innovation needs to happen from a good place of heart. When I was reading about autism, I went back in the 1940s to see how we've advanced over time. It was known as child schizophrenia. And today, even if an adult is diagnosed with schizophrenia, it's like a frenzy in the house. I think the housemates go into a schizophrenic state that हमारी family में diagnosed हो गया. So mental health का condition, either in India or America or any part of the world, it's not going to get better unless and until, of course, we communicate as educators, as journalists, as media professionals. The technology has actually advanced where smartphones and AI can help. Talking of startups, Shark Tank season 4 saw actually a startup raise 1 crore of rupees for this cause. Yes, now, Kulbhushan, it is your and my job to ensure that this is not a CSR activity. This does not just become one part of seeking the funding, they have to deliver on their promise. So, yes, there are all the technology available, but what as a society are we doing about the awareness? I can say that as a journalist, I have not covered this issue enough, and I need to take that ownership. You, if you could not cover that story back then, you made that catharsis, you brought us four together, you brought this conversation forward. At least we can be the first ABC of somebody who wants to clear their head about what autism is, to clear the spectrum about it themselves. But yes, there's a lot of advancement, the kind of technologies which I could bring note of were basically in the scope of AI only. That is early detection and diagnosis, which can be aided by that, because the beauty of AI is that it works in patterns. So, what a doctor cannot diagnose as a human, sometimes AI can. Then there is obviously personalized education, as we spoke about how autism, every child is different. So, I can teach a class of 40 children, but with an autistic child, I have to be their only teacher. It has to be one on one. AI can help with that. AI can increase the resources that a teacher has to be able to help their children. Then it can also be about improved communication and enhanced social skills. Then assistive technologies, which can in real time provide us solutions. Like probably there's a parent who does not know what to do in that situation. A simple Google search today can lead to a Gemini search, an OpenAI search, ChatGPT सबके phone पे है. They can just type in what can I do about this situation. So awareness is something that is at our fingertips. It is just the acceptance that we as humans have to work on, and no technology can really do anything about it.
So tell me, Gauri.
Please, can I please add something to it?
Yes, please, yes, please.
So there are different apps available. There is one assisted technology, as she said. So Avaz is one app where which can help the child communicate. A lot of children have communication disorder, so it can help the child communicate. Similarly, there are noise cancellation. A lot of children have issues with sound and noises. So there are noise cancellation headphones that are available that can be used. Pavneet would identify with me when I talk about all of this. And small things like not technology, but then just because these children, as Meet said, that sensory integration and sensory issues are majorly impacted in our children. So rubbing a little pure perfume like ether, the natural ones, on the child's wrist, on the child's, it has helped my children a lot at the back. And an occupational therapist had told me about it. That just rub in the morning when you give them a bath, after that, rub pure, but because they are pure souls, everything you have to do for them has to be pure. So pure ether, pure perfumes, if you rub, that sense, the sense of smell is very calming to them. That smell. So these apps are definitely there. Technology is there. That comes. Pavneet must be using a lot of those. There are Sansa players and things like that can be used for children to tune one particular kind of tune, not tune, rather the rhythm.
That we call sensory relaxation.
Sensory relaxation. So that rhythm, like the nature sound, bird sounds,
But
the sound,
charming
waterfall, yes,
sound,
waterfall,
sound.
all these are
These
very
should
calming for children.
these are the artificial things that the child should be relaxed, and we give if we given him a headphones also with the some kind of a music, sensational rhythm, the child brain is relaxed and he should be calmed down. And these artificial tools and technology definitely help that. And that, and in the last, there's a Gauri to talk about the AI. The AI is the best for these children because they understand the technology and the Android system very well, and they can easily that. But one challenge is come in that, sorry for the excuses all. One challenge is also come in the autistic child. If we given lots of these kind of artificial think more and more, their screening and visual time will also increase. So we have to limit it time off. So we have to, if for example, we have to set a minute for this. If we talk about for the child is something, for example, I will take for 15 minutes. I said for 15 minutes to only for the 15 minutes. For a 20 minutes, for the 20 minutes. For the if the child is settled down in 5 minutes, then I will give only for the 5 minutes. So we should evaluate or adapt that or identify that the what the child need, what the time is for the need. Like if it's for a 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes. And definitely it's really helpful. That's so.
the artificial.
Visual learners, so we have to provide visual cues to them, make a visual schedule for them, give them a lot of pictures that they can read and they can identify and read sight words.
Definitely.
That because there is no dearth of intelligence.
So now what I'm going to do is open up conversation to everybody. Now we have very focused conversations from the parents' perspective as a on the ground reality, and also a little bit about the tech and communication and autistic tech. We just not can't say that we have done that. We've gone and in depth, a lot in depth. I think, but it's a great start to do something. I think we are onto something, and we will build on our on this on in our future conversations. And I find it very intriguing and very as a parent, I'm very curious all the time. And also to just to be whenever something like this happens, I don't want to be. I want to be like very well informed. So this now the panel is open for everybody. I want to begin with something like what are the misconceptions, if you have to say like in a crisp manner.
Autistic children do not have a dearth of intelligence. Do not call them pagal. They're not pagal. So that is the major misconception that when a layperson looks at an autistic child, the one word that comes to their mind is that ये बच्चा पागल है. वो पागल नहीं है.
I believe this child is smarter than them, like two smarter than
In more
like,
ways
them.
than
So,
I tell you just one example. If I can quote this child in my school today, he's in UKG. And today I was talking to the parent. And at that time, that also I have seen, I think Pavneet would identify with me that these children have some spiritual connection.
definitely. And
This child,
Trinity, or also the music lover also.
yes. So this child took, took my remote and so of the CCTV, the projector screen, and then he could type on his own and put some the name of one Shiva temple which I have never heard of, Azimala Shiva temple. He has a connection with Shiva, and he opened that site. He typed it AZHI, and it is such a beautiful. It's somewhere in South and room. And then I told the mother, I said, why don't you take this child to that temple? Maybe he has a connection there. She said, all the time and he does stand. He says, "Cool, give me proof." He knows all of that. Can you, child Pagal, can you call him anything less than a brilliant genius child?
I think he's better than all the babas we see on TV who that's and proclaimed the
I would one more thing, Miss Charlie talk about like mental illness and the mental retardation that autistic child is mental. They are not mental. They have the special abilities. They have the special potential to do the task in their own way. Okay. If the normal child cannot do, the autistic child can definitely do. They only thing is the auditory and the visual thing in come in this. If the child is not seen to us, that doesn't mean they are not understanding, then they are not participation. Our verbal command is proceed to them, but they are doing their own way. If the child has some kind of interest in those activities, they will come directly to us. And one more myth is a misconception is I was talking about nowadays that not only the boys can be autistic. There is one more misconception is nowadays that the parent that only the boys should be have the autistic. But on the other side, girls should nowadays girl cases are they are more over decreases nowadays. For example, I have seen one of my child. She's autistic, 6 years old, and they have the severe behavior problem. If I'm talking about from the last 2 years, I have seen from the last 2 years, they have extreme kind of behavior from next level. The child cannot sit in a single row, but nowadays, on one single command, she can sit, she can do the task, whatever I can set to her. She took 45 minutes to 1 hour the OT session, 1 hour of education, 1 hour of speech session in nowadays. So therapy is the really Ramban for the autistic child.
My next question is, I know if it is silly question, okay, then please excuse. Can someone in their later age develop this as an adult?
It may sometimes it goes unidentified in the early years.
Because it should be identified in the early years.
Yeah.
Or if
But if
can
it
feel
remains unidentified, then it may surface later. Yeah. So if the child is in class 6, 7, 8 level and the child's early intervention was not done, or the identification was not done, or there was a denial from the parents' end, it may surface at that time, and then it gets very difficult.
And I would like to one more thing. The autistic child or the autistic girl or the lesbian, other speakers and disorder or a spectrum of a child, we can see them in the early years, like in the 2 years, like in the 3 years, in the 4 years. The starting years are very crucial for him or her because the early intervention start from the 2 years. If the early intervention proceed well for 2 to 5 years, then 6, 7, 8 years will goes well for their academic level, their cognition level, their memory level, their understanding level. Because up to 8 years to 9 years, we have the time to work on their memory, work on their cognition part, work on the different areas, work on the child behaviors, work on the child sensory needs. After that, their other things will come like their special ability, what he can do in sports, what he can do in art. So we can simply promote them to them. If the child is good at academic, we can tell the parents to go for the NIOS curriculum that should will also accepted for autistic
What is
child.
NIOS curriculum?
So NIOS is an open schooling. It is a national board like CBSE and ICSE. It is a national board
Open board.
with an easier content in the subject. So children can easily pursue. But at the same time, I have seen in my career so many children who have passed their mainstream education with good marks. They're doing well in life. So again, it's a
And
Yes, and this curriculum is especially for the special need children. They have passed their grade 10, they pass their grade 12, and after that they go in the college and whatever they have the disability or the disorder, they can succeed more in their life with this. And definitely, if us talk about the Elon Musk, if they can do that, each and every child can do. Just we have to figure out what is their need. If we understand their needs, their potential, autistic child can do whatever they want to.
it was a great conversation. It was very much insightful. I learned a lot. As a parent also, I was very happy that I learned. And thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to me. And I think a lot of people will benefit from this conversation. And thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you so
for
much. Thank you so
for
much, Kulvi sir.
creating this buzz about autism and networking and talking to each other. This is what is going to help.
And thank you, Gauri, and thank you, Kulvi sir, for giving me this opportunity. And love to talk with the Charlie also. Thank you. Bye.
God bless. God bless.